Hello, boys and girls, and welcome back to the next episode of Nerd Out Sanctuary. My name is Michael Donato, your host. That's right, your host of Nerd Out Sanctuary. This is episode 16. I'm filming this almost right after episode 15, so hopefully I can get this one out relatively soon. We'll see how my turnaround is. The NFL draft is tonight, and I'm probably going to watch that because I'm a huge football fan. And I'll probably just edit the episode during that time while I'm watching it. But tell me if you guys are football fans. But we're going to be talking a couple films today, and we're going to be doing something a little different. We're going to be taking a break from my top 100 films of all time and get into another list that I'm really looking forward to talking about. Sorry, my cord from my mic is kind of being weird. But anyway, we're getting into another list, and it's going to be a late one. It's definitely a late list, but I'm getting into my top 10 films of 2019. Yes, I get it. It's the end of April of 2020. I'm like, 4 months too late, but I think it's better late than never, and there was some pretty great films that I saw in 2019. Some I did miss, and I'll be pointing those out too that might have cheated themselves in there. So we'll be talking about that. That's at the end of the episode, and we're also going to be talking about two films today. It's like a totally film podcast episode today. No TV shows, no video games, no anything else other than movies. So we got two interesting films to talk about. I'm really excited to talk about. How are you guys doing? I hope you guys are enjoying my content here. Like I said in previous episodes, this is a video podcast. So if you're checking this out on YouTube, this is also just an audio podcast. So that's pretty much the major three big audio podcast platforms. That's Spotify, that's iTunes, and that's Google Play. So yeah, check me out on there. Give me a subscribe on iTunes. Give me a review or whatever you do on Google Play and Spotify. I have an iPhone, so I usually just use the iTunes podcast. But anyway, and if you're just listening on one of those platforms, know that this is also a YouTube channel. This is a video podcast, and so I upload these to YouTube. I put some graphics to my left, your right. Yeah, you're right. So I'm sorry. I'm dyslexic, and I'm like that fucks with my head. But So I think it's definitely worth checking it out on YouTube. So yeah, I'm there. I'm all those four platforms. So yeah, I appreciate you giving me a subscribe on YouTube and giving me a like for my episodes. It helps me out a lot, a great deal. So yeah, thanks for checking me out if you are, and comment. I will respond to you on YouTube, absolutely respond to you. I don't get many comments, but when I do, I respond. Whether it's negative or positive, I will respond to you. So, yeah, without further ado, guys, let's just hop right into this episode, which might be short, might be long, I don't know. I'm leaning towards pretty long because I think the top 10 of 2019 is going to be a long segment. But anyway, so let's get into my first film that may or may not be in my top 10 of 2019, but we're talking Ford v Ferrari. That's right, Ford v Ferrari came out in 2019 in November, late 2019. If you're unfamiliar with the story of Ford v Ferrari, it's a sort of biopic, based off of a true story. American car designer Carroll Shelby and driver Ken Miles battle corporate interference and the laws of physics to build a revolutionary race car for Ford Motor Company in order to defeat Ferrari at the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 1966. So this is definitely back in the day. So it's directed by James Mangold, and if you're unfamiliar with him, he's done some older films. He's done Identity, which is based off of a Stephen King novel starring John Cusack, I believe. Never saw it, but I heard good things about it. He directed 3:10 to Yuma, which is a really good Western, also with Christian Bale in it. And he also is responsible for The Wolverine, not Wolverine Origins, The Wolverine. That's like that whole Japanese one. And also he directed and wrote and produced Logan. So that's the big one. That's really, really impressive. Logan is really great. Not the most original film. I mean, it's pretty much The Last of Us, but with, Wolverine placed in there. But just because it isn't original doesn't mean it's not fucking amazing. So, yeah, Logan is an incredible film. I love Logan. So, yeah. So, a talented director, very talented director. The two main actors in this one are Christian Bale, he plays the driver, Ken Miles, and Matt Damon, who plays Carroll Shelby, the guy who's, the car designer. Him and Ken Miles kind of team up. They get hired by Ford to compete with Ferrari in this Le Mans 24-hour long race. So they need to design and race a Ford car. And basically, the whole story is Ford is trying to beat Ferrari and build up their sales because they've been dropping off a little bit here. John Barenthal is also co-stars in. He plays Lee Iacocca, which is really cool. He does a really good job. But that's pretty much it with the major actors in the film. I will say now, this is definitely a car junkie type of film. If you're really into cars and racing and stuff like that, like I know a lot of people in the construction industry who would probably absolutely love this film. I mean, they talk specifics with cars and like models and RPMs, horsepower type of stuff that a lot of car junkies are very into. I mean, I've never been a huge car junkie because I was never really raised with cars, but they always fascinated me, and I'm always very interested to hear what other people such as my coworkers talk about them because they're very passionate about it. Now, is this a film that's just for car junkies though? Is this just a car junkie film though? Well, let's get into this because I would disagree with that statement. I think this is a film that everybody can enjoy. Let's just get into the specifics of why I think this film is pretty incredible. The film takes place in 1966, so it's back in the day. It's in the 60s, and I think the filmmakers do an exceptional job with capturing the time. I'm talking. Obviously, the use of classic cars definitely helps, and the cars that they use in the film are really cool, and I think just the aesthetic of these cars are really sick, and the way they race them, they drive them is very, very awesome. But also the music, the classical jazz saxophone type, brass horn music is very 60s feel, which I liked a lot. The locations and costuming, clearly have the whole 60s filter on it, and it's just the general, they capture the general feel of the time period very well, and that's something that I'm sure is extremely hard to do. So we're 2020 now. That was what, fucking 60 years ago now, so crazy. But another thing, the racing scenes are unbelievable. They're unbelievably good. The racing scenes are exceptional. You can always bring up Fast and Furious is really cool too. Yeah, but it's not realistic at all. Fast and Furious can be cool, but it's not like this big word that I always love to use in my podcast episodes, visceral. Realistic, has that intensity to them. That's what this film has. The racing scenes in this do not disappoint, and when it's kind of scary, it's scary and intense. When people crash and burn up, it's actually legitimately scary, and there's scenes in this where Ken Miles is in the car and he's pushing the car very hard, because that's kind of a big issue with trying to generate as much speed with the Ford vehicle, especially the engine that they it just can the car take it for 24 hours. But so yeah, sometimes it's he's pushing the car a little too hard, and you can die. Drivers have died in this, and there's some close calls, and it supplies with very suspenseful scenes, especially the final Le Mans 24-hour race at the very end. It doesn't disappoint. It's incredibly hyped up, and it meets and exceeds expectations almost. Again, my expectations for this film were really high because I heard nothing but positive things about it, but I didn't really expect this film to be this good. So it's very rare that a film almost exceeds my expectations, because my expectations are rarely met. Sorry if I think my hair is kind of getting fucked up, but you don't come for my hair. It's such a random thought, Michael. Stay on target. Jesus Christ. Stay on target with the film. Ford v Ferrari here. But yeah. So yeah, the racing is phenomenal. Now, I mentioned that this film really they could be said, oh, it's only for car junkies. It's only a car junkie type of film. And I said I would disagree with that. One, because the story is incredible. I think it's a very relatable story. Also, the acting is incredible. Well, I'll get to the acting a little bit later. Let's tackle one issue at a time here. So the main story, yes, there's cars and racing involved, but it's really about passion, and having a passion about something, and standing for that passion and going through with it, and basically knowing what's important in a situation, because an issue ends up Ford is doing this to sell cars, and that they might sacrifice other people's, desires, such as our main character's passion for racing and cars and all of that. And that's incredibly relatable. My passion is films and, entertainment and doing this. And I didn't really let anything get in the way. There's a lot of reasons why I shouldn't have done this podcast. There's a lot of reasons, but I mean, obviously I'm not making any money doing this. This is a hobby to me, but it's also a passion of mine. Ken Miles does racing and works on car as a passion. He doesn't really do it for the money. And, Carroll Shelby also feels the same way. And Ford is clearly in this for, selling cars. I mean, they are a company. They're a corporation. And, that is very relatable to a lot of people. Sometimes your passion doesn't bring home the bread and doesn't put food on the table. And that's real. It sucks, because I think everyone should try to pursue, their passion, and try to find ways on how to work and incorporate their passion into their work, because I think it helps you build a more fulfilling life. So this, what I thought was a very, very cool, and it really surprised me how amazing they pinpoint and zoned in on that theme with this film. It takes this film to another level. I mean, yes, the racing and, the aesthetics and the technicality behind that they put forward in building, this Ford race car is very cool and very fascinating. And I don't know how accurate the film is, but it seems pretty accurate. I mean, it doesn't really seem very overblown, but, and it's a very suspenseful film, and it's very intense, and it's a very well-made film. But I was really surprised with the thematic qualities of the film, and how much it actually touched me emotionally. And so I was really surprised with that, and it really increased my love for this one. So let's talk about the acting a little bit. The best part about this film is Christian Bale. I mean, I will, kind of give a disclaimer. I'm a huge Christian Bale fan. He's one of my favorite actors ever. So every time I see him, I'm always excited. But I mean, it's for good reason. He brings it every time. I mean, I think one of my little nitpicks is that, Matt Damon's performance is good, but I mean, his accent definitely slips up here and there. It's definitely not very authentic, like Christian Bale. I mean, Ken Miles, I think he's English. I mean, Christian Bale himself is Welsh, so it's not that hard of a transition. But Christian Bale has always nailed the accents, and he's a dedicated actor. He dedicates himself to a role. Look at The Machinist, look at Vice, look at the Batman films, 3 different weight classes that he is, and The Machinist, he's pretty much starving himself. He's a skeleton. In Vice, he's very overweight to play Dick Cheney. And in the Batman movies, he actually shows up to the set, and Christian Bale is like, bro, you're too buff. So it's kind of, yeah, that's actually true. So he actually got too jacked for Batman. But anyway, so yeah, Christian Bale brings it. He steals every scene that he's in. And yeah, I mean, it was kind of really hard for me to find any negatives with this. I mean, maybe the film's a little too long. It's a long film. I think it's over 150 minutes, which is, it's like around 2.5 hours long. But I mean, like, I was entertained throughout the whole film. I mean, like I said, Matt Damon's accent isn't like the consistently good, but I mean, he gives a good performance, and there's scenes that he's really good. And so, I mean, there's really nothing to not like about this film. Does it have the movie magic? I mean, what do you think, guys? What do you think? Yeah, it does. I mean, given what I've said about this film, of course it has the movie magic. I mean, we're talking about amazing racing scenes, intense, suspenseful, great story, your relatable characters, relatable themes that can really get to you emotionally, especially at the end. Top-notch acting, top-notch directing, especially if you like, type of like films that go back in time, especially that 60s time period. This is definitely a film for you. If you're a car nut, this is a must watch for you. So yeah, Ford v Ferrari, it's phenomenal. Check it out. And spoiler alert, it might be mentioned a little bit later on this episode of Nerd Out Sanctuary. So yeah, moving on to our second film of the day, of the episode. I'm going to be discussing this one a little bit more because I have a little bit more to say about this one. But yeah, so let's go to a film that I watched on Netflix. I rented Ford v Ferrari because I really wanted to see it, but this one was on Netflix. So I just watched this one, but this is a very interesting story. I watched a film called Code 8 on Netflix. It's a sci-fi film. If you're unfamiliar with it, it's a superpowered construction worker falls in with a group of criminals in order to raise funds to help his ill mother. So this film is very interesting because it was based off of a short film that came out a long time ago. I want to say 2016 or 2015. I don't know when it came out, but I watched it when I was randomly on YouTube. And the short film is really good. Of the similar name, it's called Code 8. And this film was crowdfunded, which is very interesting. When production started, it raised a little over $1.7 million, which was 860% of the target amount that they were trying to raise. And by the time the premieres started, it was around $2.4 million. So that was kind of cool. And having a film being crowdfunded is a really cool story. And it stars the guy who plays Green Arrow in the show Arrow, what is his name? Hold on here. It's not Robbie Amell. Robbie Amell is the guy's cousin, but his cousin plays Arrow and Green Arrow. Hold on, I'm getting his name. Hold on, relax, guys. Bear with me here. Oh boy. Why is his name not listed? Whatever. Oh wait, hold on. Stephen Amell. Yeah, he plays Green Arrow and Arrow. I think he appears in Flash. Sorry about that, guys. I should have been more prepared. But anyway, so yeah, they're cousins. They star in this one. Green Arrow's cousin is the main character in this one. But yeah, he plays a guy who's superpowered, and the world building in this one is really cool. Let's talk about if this film is actually good. It's a very cool story about it being crowdfunded, but is the film good? Now, the opening of the film is a bit hectic. It's a little hectic, a little bit hard to follow, but generally good and gives you a really good setup of the world that you're in. It's a good world building technique that gives you like a montage of like news clips and everything, giving you a touch what the world is. And the world is there's superpowered people in this world, and they're pretty much discriminated against, basically. And you also get in on this, drug psych is kind of a big deal where I guess people, take spinal fluid out of, I think, superhumans, and I don't know, they use it. I guess it's addictive, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, it sets up the story, it sets up the world. These superhuman beings are kind of, most of them like live below the poverty line. They're struggling for money because no one's going to hire them because they're, people are afraid of them and they discriminate against them. Is this the most original idea in the world? Not really. I mean, especially since we've had X-Men and how popular X-Men is. It's not the most original idea in the world, but I think this Code 8 can stand on its own and be a little bit unique. But let's get into why I think that is. Now, it's about a one man's struggle of kind of trying to make ends meet, and especially since his mother is sick and he's trying to get care for his mother, but he doesn't have the money to because, he doesn't, he's below the poverty line. He struggles for work, and the only jobs that he can get are some like here and there construction jobs that pay maybe $100 in one day. Maybe. I mean, but those are very rare, even getting work. So he turns to, this group of criminals that steal money. Well, they don't steal money. They still steal a little bit more, but they're criminals, basically. So he gets caught up in that world. I kind of want to talk about what the film does well. The effects look definitely better here in the feature film than it did in the short film. The short film looks really good, and the effects are very impressive, especially for a short film. Short films usually don't have a lot of effects in them, and the short film does. The short film is really good. Check it out. It's called Code 8, and it's on YouTube. Before you watch this film. But the Guardians, these like police robots that are designed to combat people with superhuman abilities, they look a lot better. They look a little bit more intimidating. They're very cool, but I'm gonna get into them a little bit later. But yeah, they look cool. It definitely gives you that District 9 Elysium feel, like Neil Blomkamp. In Elysium, they had those like androids. Yeah, those are pretty much the same thing. It's almost borderline copying, but I think they get away with it being a little bit unique. The use of sound, the sound design is very cool and very well utilized. It gives a really cool feel to the film, very futuristic type of gritty feel to it. The action scenes, when they happen, are definitely film quality. They look really cool, especially when the Code 8 does happen. It's a very intense scene. It's very well done. I really liked it. I just, those were the best parts of the film, were the action scenes. Even though they were a little bit comic booky, and I felt like they could have been a little bit more, like I said, visceral and realistic, sort of like a District 9 Elysium. Like you felt like the violence felt really real in the Neil Blomkamp film, and I think they could have went that route a little bit more in this one. But also the acting, with it not being amazing, is not bad at all. The acting is definitely serviceable. It's like serviceable. It's fine. So yeah, but I think the main thing about Code 8 is there's a lot of potential here. I read somewhere that this isn't really the end, and the film definitely sets up something in the future, whether it's a TV show or another film or whatever it's going to be. But there's definitely, the world that they build here has a lot of potential, and has a lot of potential to be great, especially from a sci-fi fan. And I think it has a lot of potential to be a really good hard sci-fi, dealing with real world issues, especially with immigration, with this new presidential administration. There's a lot of really cool concepts that they could play with and could mirror with modern day society that I would help a good hard sci-fi film conceptually. And so even just being a really cool film has the potential to be with the world, especially with these, the Guardians being really kind of a cool concept, and just people's powers and different classes of power. People are like, oh, the main character is like, what, a class 5 electric. So he is like electrical powers, and a class 5 is pretty powerful. So yeah. Now the film does kind of fall a bit short on a decent amount of fronts here. I think the story itself isn't quite there to me. I mean, I felt like, I don't know if you really needed a criminal mob aspect to it. Like, I think the short film does a really good job of just kind of putting the superhuman guys in a situation that's just gets heated and escalates very quickly, and people do things that they regret, especially out of anger. And I think having that be where they go, it was a little bit more interesting than like some dude who needs money turns to criminal, or turns to crime and dealing with a criminal organization, because there's a lot of potential even there that's a little bit missed upon. Sorry, I'm drinking water today. I'm not drinking any alcoholic or coffee or energy drink, just straight water. I don't know, I'm boring, but whatever. I just think also the cohesion, like the flow of the film, it seems very fast. There's a montage in the middle of the film that is just like, it's like, what? I don't really understand why it was needed. Yeah, okay, the guy's, reaching his full potential with his powers, but like, do you really need that? I mean, can he just be powerful? Like, do you? I thought I don't know. I didn't really think the montage was that great. I guess it needed to perceive like a passing of time, so the the characters can, I guess, form a little bit of a bond. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I don't know. The film seems to me to go a little bit quicker than you would want. Also, again, the Guardians, they look cool, but they're really not, they don't really seem useful. They're specifically designed in this world, specifically designed to combat people with superhuman powers. But whenever they're like put up against a person with superhuman abilities, they get wrecked. So it doesn't really make too much sense to me. Like, the only time they're effective are against like normal people, it seems like they're just robots with guns. So, I mean, if you really think about the logistics of them, like, they're clearly very expensive to produce. I'm sure they're very expensive to transport with those really cool looking drone machines. Those look pretty cool. But I mean, again, but they're not even, they get smoked when they get put up against a superhuman. Like, every time they go up against a superhuman in Code 8, the film, they get wrecked. They get either electrocuted, their circuits get fried, or they get smashed by a weight, which makes no sense. I mean, a thing for this film to improve upon the next time is make them scary. Make them like combat a powerful superhuman and let them win in like a really maybe gruesome way. Make them scary. Makes them so the audience are afraid of them and the main characters are afraid of them, because it seems like the superhuman characters are not afraid of these Guardians. So also, you're investing a lot of money, but like they're specifically designed, I guess, to combat superhumans. But like the purpose of them is to prevent superhumans to use their powers? I would argue not, because whenever you're dealing, you're bringing bigger guns to a gunfight, the opposing force is probably also going to bring more bigger guns over time. So yeah, like they're going to face superhumans, but superhumans are going to be more motivated to use their superhuman abilities on robots that aren't people. Like I would think superhumans would be a little bit more reserved on using their powers on a human police officers, because it's like, oh, I might kill this guy, but they're going to use their superhumans on an inanimate object that's property. Like, it's just property damage at that point. You're not being charged with like murder. So yeah, they need to make the Guardians more powerful and more scary for them to actually work. The action and violence, like I said before, seemed a little it's not cartoony, and sometimes it's definitely it gets there to that intensity and realism, but I think you can go a little bit farther with it. Think District 9, think Elysium, think Dread too. I'm going to talk about that one a little bit later. But yeah, it seems like, I don't know. I think the film seems a little bit more too comic booky, and I think it needs to be a little bit more, like I said, visceral. I keep using the word, and I hate to keep using it, but it describes what the film really needs to be to make it really great. Also, make the people with superpowers more scary. Give us a reason why they're discriminated against and why they can't get jobs. Because, I mean, it's kind of hard for me to believe, like, there's a character who can heal people. And some of these powers are incredibly useful. Like, it's kind of hard to believe that, like, these multi-million-dollar corporations aren't employing these people. Like, I don't really understand why they can't get jobs. Like, them being, like, in poverty doesn't really, I don't know, it's not very believable to me. But I mean, if you make them kind of scary, like maybe some superpowered people commit some atrocities and put that into the world, I think it gives a reason to fear these superpowered beings a little bit more. Like maybe pull in, I hate to bring in real life issues, but when 9/11 happened, a lot of people kind of wrongfully discriminated against the Islamic community and people from that area of the Middle East and people who follow the Islamic faith. People were kind of afraid of them because of an atrocity that was committed by people who look like them. And I think that could be a really cool concept to play with here. And I think it would really serve the world and the story a lot more and make it a little bit more believable that, all these superpowered beings are living in poverty and struggle for work because no one wants to hire them because they're afraid of them. So I think making them a little bit more, I don't know, I don't want to say powerful, but like, I don't know, have something happen in the world that makes people afraid of them. So the audience themselves can be a little bit, okay, so yeah, I understand why people are discriminated against them. Also, I think the film needs a better antagonist. I mean, there isn't a sort of antagonist in this film with like a shady gangster who can read minds, I guess. But I thought he was kind of lame, to be honest. He wasn't very intimidating. They kind of tease this thing called this organization called The Trust, but they don't do anything with them. So I'm guessing they're saving that for the future. They do kind of set it. You only see them in the beginning and the end. So that was kind of a missed opportunity there. But yeah, maybe for an antagonist, maybe like a non-superhuman, but maybe they're like a big head in media and they maybe put out some negative propaganda to make these superhumans kind of down in the dirt, making them not be able to get any jobs. There's some very high potential for character building there. Having them have negative encounters with superhumans in the past, maybe a death of a loved one or whatever. I mean, be creative other than some shady gangster. Like, I don't know. But yeah, I think the film just needs to be generally darker. Like I said, Neil Blomkamp style, I think it would really work, even though they kind of border the line of kind of copying Elysium with those, Guardians and the androids. But yeah, and try to get a little bit more get those highs on those missed opportunities, such as like the Guardians making them scarier, like a little bit better characters. There's some characters that you don't really understand what they're doing, like why they're even there. I think having some character building moments would definitely help the film. The Trust, who the fuck are they? I have no idea. Maybe expanding on that more. The drug Psych was a little confusing what the purpose of it was. I get it. Okay, they extract spinal fluid from, I guess, superhumans and people put it in their eyes. I guess it gets them high. I mean, but it's just a drug that people get addicted to. I mean, I think that was kind of a missed opportunity. Maybe make it be specifically addicted to superhumans and maybe it enhances their powers. That's why people take it. but it's also very addictive. Like, just do something interesting with it. Think of Dread with the drug slow-mo. If you're unfamiliar with Dread and you haven't seen Dread, there's this drug in the film where you take it. It's like an inhaler, and it slows everything down and it puts everything in slow motion, and it adds something, especially to the violence in that film. It really adds to the tone, and really it's a very interesting thing, and it's something that I've never seen before in a film. So think of that when you're dealing with this whole psych drug. Sorry, I just need the table. So anyway, with all that, does the film have the movie magic though? Oh man, this was kind of a hard one, because I actually did generally like this film and I enjoyed it. And I think some of the emotional moments, especially at the end, were very well done, especially dealing with the main character's mother. I thought was really cool and I think effective enough. But just with all the missed opportunities and like the amount of potential that this world and this film had, and it doesn't really reach it. I mean, it's a decent film, and I don't really want to give every film the movie magic that I, review on here. So I'm not going to give it the movie magic. It's kind of like A Big Time Adolescence, where it's a well-made film, but I just think a lot of things really draw it back for me, especially since I'm a science fiction fan. I'm probably going to be a little bit harder on this one. But, yeah, so it's definitely worth checking out. It's definitely worth a watch, especially since it's on Netflix. If you have a Netflix account, definitely check it out. But watch the short film. I think the short film is really good, and it's definitely the reason why it got so much crowdfunding. But yeah, it still has high potential, because it's definitely setting itself up for something in the future, whether it's a TV show, another film, or whatever. It has potential to be great, and I think it could get there, but hopefully it takes into account of what I said. I mean, obviously they're probably not going to see this, but I think it would be valuable if they did. So anyway, Code 8, check it out. I would check it out, even though it doesn't have Mikey's movie magic. I still think it's worth watching. So yeah, especially if you're a sci-fi fan, check it out. But anyway, so now getting to the end here. What are we? How are we on time? 37 minutes, 40 minutes. Okay, we're pretty good. Not bad, not too bad. I'm recording, so that's always good. We're around 37 minutes. So we're gonna get to my top 10 movies of 2019. I know I'm taking a break of the top 100. It's gonna be back next episode, but for now, I really wanted to do this because there's a lot of films that I wanted to talk about. So I kind of put this into a couple categories. There's films that I haven't seen in 2019 that I just missed, and I thought maybe could have cheated themselves in, but I don't know. There's only a couple that I think really could have if I've saw them, and then there's films that I did see in 2019 that were just kind of fringe. They almost make it, but not quite make it, and then I'm gonna go over my top 10. So for the films that I didn't see, that I'm just gonna quickly run them down: Jojo Rabbit, Rocket Man, Honey Boy, Richard Jewell, Ad Astra, Ready or Not, Dark Waters, The Peanut Butter Falcon, Shazam, the Lego Movie 2, Art of Self-Defense, and Portrait of a Lady on Fire. So I think there's only a couple films that could have possibly made it, and that's like your Jojo Rabbit, since it was nominated for Best Picture, I believe. Honey Boy, which I was really excited to see because I'm a huge fan of Shia LaBeouf. Dark Waters, that I heard incredibly good things about. Peanut Butter Falcon, again, Shia LaBeouf type of film that I'm kind of into. And Portrait of a Lady on Fire, which was a really interesting film that could have definitely cheated its way in here, because I kind of liked those more obscure kind of art house type of films, and I will eventually see them, but it's just, I'm not gonna spend $6 a pop renting all these films and watching all of them. I don't have the time or the capability of doing that. I don't really want to spend that money. But so the films that I did see in 2019 that didn't make the cut, so we'll run them down, kind of talk about them a little bit. El Camino is one, a great film. But I don't really think it doesn't really, it's not amazing standing on its own. It just gives a really good closure to Jesse's story at the end. You have to watch Breaking Bad. If you haven't watched Breaking Bad, what the fuck are you doing? Watch Breaking Bad. But this gives a really good supplement to it, especially if you're like, oh man, I really want more Breaking Bad. Watch El Camino. It's a really good watch. It's really well made. Aaron Paul does a fantastic job reprising his role as Jesse. It's really good. There's some really intense moments. It's just a really good film, but it's not really top 10 quality. There's 10 films that I thought were a little bit better, a little bit more enjoyable this year, last year. Dr. Sleep, I'm kind of disappointed this didn't really make the list, but the middle of the film definitely kind of drags a little bit, even though the beginning and the end are very strong. It is very long. It's a very long film, and it does rely on the whole being the Shining sequel. It definitely relies on that a little bit. So I think there's one horror movie on my top 10 list that is definitely there. Marriage Story, the Netflix original that's nominated for Best Picture. Both leading actors are nominated for Oscars. It's an incredible film, and probably some of the best performances of the year. But again, it's not a film that I'm going to rewatch, so it didn't really put it in my top 10. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Quentin Tarantino's ninth film. Great performances, fun story. I really enjoyed it, being a really huge film nerd. So I thought it's definitely a film for that, but it's far from his best film. I think it's not, I'm not going to rewatch this one as much as Django, Kill Bill, fucking Pulp Fiction, Inglourious Basterds, some of his greatest films. Midsommar, another really great horror film, but again, Hereditary is a far, I think, superior film, and definitely hit me a lot more emotionally disturbed me a lot more than Midsommar did. But definitely, if you're a horror fan, watch Midsommar. You might really like it. Martin Scorsese's The Irishman, really great film, but again, the visual effects with the de-aging, it's very noticeable. Plus, it's 3 hours and some minutes long. It's way too long. Not gonna rewatch it. I'm just not. But it's a very good watch. I recommend watching it. John Wick 3, fun. I love Keanu Reeves. I thought John Wick 3 was great, but in my opinion, I think it's the least. It's not as good as the first and second one. Definitely not as good as the first one. The first one's the best. The first one is definitely top 10 film material, but I think John Wick 3, have it being one of the still really great action, awesome film, but it is what it is. Jordan Peele's Us, another horror film, but I don't know. I still, it's a good film, but it didn't really have that, I don't know, it factor that I really wanted it to be. I mean, Get Out is amazing. Get Out is a phenomenal film. And I think Us is really cool. It's a really cool film, and it has a lot of really scary moments, and I think an incredible performance by the main actress. But I don't know. It didn't really do as much for me as I really wanted it to. I think it's one of those films that I had really high expectations, and it didn't really meet them for me. A lot of people love this one, but I'm not really quite one of them. On the Netflix original, The King, really cool period piece, historical film. Apparently, it's very accurate. Incredible performance by what's his face, Timothy Chalamet. Really gives you an insight. Okay, I see the Paul Atreides in you. He's going to be Paul Atreides in the new Dune film, Denis Villeneuve's Dune film that's hopefully going to come out at the end of this year. I fucking hope it is. I mean, with the coronavirus delaying all these productions and all these video games and everything pretty much. I'm so excited for the Denis Villeneuve's Dune film. Spoiler alert, once that trailer comes out for Dune, I'm doing an entire episode strictly on Dune. It might be why I'm going to review the book, I'm going to review David Lynch's film, I'm going to review a documentary, and I'll review the trailer for it. So expect that when the trailer drops. Hopefully, I don't know when that's going to be though. But The King, again, it's a historical drama, not really my genre. Plus, I don't know. It's fun. It's cool. The ending action scene. Jeez, I can't speak. Is really well done. It's great. But I don't know. It's not top 10 material. I'm probably not going to rewatch it, so it's not in there. And then finally, How to Train Your Dragon 3. Fun movie. But again, the first one and the second one are far superior to this one, even though this is really good. But I think there's another animated film that came out in 2019 that I saw recently that is a lot better, and I don't think How to Train Your Dragon 3. There's 10 better movies in this one. So, without further ado, let's get into my top 10 movies of 2019. That's right. Very weird. I'm sorry. Let me take a drink of my water here. Shit, we're at 45 minutes. This might be a little bit long. We'll see. We'll see where we end here. So, number 10, we have Knives Out. Rian Johnson's Knives Out. I'm talking, let's just say, this is one of those films that exceeded my expectations. It's rare, but it exceeded. I didn't really have any expectations going into this one. I mean, I still love Rian Johnson as a director, especially with Looper and Brick. I get it. I know The Last Jedi happened, and that was primarily his fault. But, people make mistakes. It happens, I'm sure making a Star Wars film within a year, writing it and directing it and producing it within 2 years is probably no small feat. I mean, whether how good it is or not. And there are some really good moments of The Last Jedi, but whatever. Knives Out is awesome all the way through. It's a great murder mystery. It's your good old, homage to your classic Clue board game and the film. Amazing acting performances, great story, twists and turns, your classic murder mystery throwback. It's awesome. It's a really fun time, and it's just one of those. It's an incredibly fun time at the movies. I do review it on my podcast. I'm pretty sure it's one of those episodes that I just record. It's not on YouTube, but it's on audio podcast. So check out that episode. So, number 9 is a recent film that I just reviewed last episode, Uncut Gems. A lot of people have this one a lot higher, but I just don't think it has the rewatchability as a lot of other films on this list. But, I mean, it's still amazing. It has one of the best performances of the year. Very big, huge Oscar snub. But yeah, incredibly well made. Safdie brothers really bring it again. So intense film. You're pretty much on cocaine and psychedelic drugs throughout the entire thing. You're very paranoid, and I think the film captures, and that's the purpose of the film. The film does that on purpose for you. So yeah, very intense film, amazing performance, really, really good film. Number 8, this is going to be a hot take for me, but this is just kind of my personal opinion. Number 8 goes to M. Night Shyamalan's Glass. I do my very, very first Why I Love episode on the Unbreakable trilogy, and I talk Glass, so please check that out. I'm pretty proud of that video, even though it's not my full potential of my podcast, but I still think it's a really good video, and I have a really good thoughts on Glass. And I argue that Glass is a really good film. Yes, there's some opportunities that are missed, and I don't think Shyamalan gets that, but I think it's still a really special film, and it's still, as an Unbreakable fan, I will acknowledge I am biased. That's why it's on here. But I mean, I had to put it on here because I still love Glass, and I'll rewatch Glass more than Uncut Gems and Knives Out. I just will. So that's why it's number 8. Again, this is my personal list. This is not objective fact that these are the top 10 best films of 2019. This is my opinion. Everything on this podcast is going to be my opinion. So if you don't like it, I'm sorry. Give me your top 10 in the comments. Give me your top 10 or your top favorite films that I forget. So, number 7, film that I just reviewed, Ford v Ferrari. Incredible. I will be rewatching this one once it drops down in price on Blu-ray. I will be buying it. It's an incredible film. A really good let-in on just, following your passion and not letting things get in the way of it. It's a great film. Plus the racing scenes are really intense, incredibly well made. It's a fantastic film. Number 6, the animated film. It actually won the Oscar for Best Animated Feature, and deservingly so. Toy Story 4. This one, definitely exceeded my expectations. I did not expect Toy Story 4, especially a film in the fourth installment to a series, being so to emotionally resonate so much with me. I was so surprised. This one blew me away. If you have doubts with, Toy Story 4, it's like, oh, well, I think their trilogy is very perfect. Toy Story 4 is an incredible addition to the series, and I think is absolutely necessary to watch. So, and it's phenomenal. It's a really good movie, and it's incredible. It really surprised me. That's why it's pretty high on the list. So, yeah. Moving on. Number 5 goes to Avengers Endgame. Yes, this is a comic book movie, and I've been slowly kind of being comic movied out. But this is how many years in the making here with this film? Especially, this film came out around the same time Game of Thrones finished. And Game of Thrones failed so bad with the ending, in my opinion. I think the ending, especially season 8 as a whole for Game of Thrones, was so poor. And when this movie came out, it made Game of Thrones look that much worse because Marvel does it with the closure and the ending to a giant story. Avengers Endgame, if you really think about, conceptually about how you make a film like this, it's almost impossible, especially since they were trying to do it years ago. This was their main goal, was to do this. And man, did they hit so hard. They hit on every single thing. I mean, what's your criticism of Endgame? Okay, the whole use of time travel. It's a comic book movie. Get the fuck out of here. I'm going to argue the concept of time travel in a hard sci-fi film, because that's kind of you kind of need to be a little bit more realistic and have, your concepts in place and the logic behind it, because it's a hard sci-fi. This is not a hard sci-fi. It's a comic book film, so you have to suspend your disbelief a little bit. But I mean, just the action scenes, unbelievable. The characters, amazing, so much fun. Risky film. The payoffs are incredible. Thanos is still amazing, still the best villain in the Marvel universe. It's an incredible film, and I can't say anything more that's positive that has already been said. So yeah, number 5, Avengers Endgame. Now number 4, I reviewed at sort of the beginning when I first started this back in December. I think in December, January, 1917. An incredible war film, World War I, in fact, which is, I haven't really seen any mainstream war films be set in World War I, and wow, Sam Mendes, the shots, the cinematography in this one, cinematographer Roger Deakins, probably the best in the game. The shots in this one are mind-blowing. I mean, the film is, I think it's taken in a couple of takes, a couple of shots, 4, and it's strung together to act like it's shot in one shot, one very long take. And it takes place in one day, pretty much. 24, I don't know how long it's supposed to take, but it's an incredible experience. It's very intense. It's a war film, and it's one of the best out there. And yeah, Sam Mendes, it was incredible as helming this one. So yeah, 1917. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. So top 3 now. Number 3 is gonna go to Joker. Joker. Again, another film that just kind of really exceeds expectations. They could have went safe with this one. They could have made it PG-13. They could have had a more comic book feel to it, but no. The director really stayed true to his guns. They made it rated R. They made it really dark, almost very disturbing film. I'm blanking on the director of this one. Sorry, it's just what's his name? I need Todd Phillips. Todd Phillips, the director, stuck with his guns. Brought in Joaquin Phoenix. I don't think anyone could have played Joker as well as Joaquin did. Won Oscar for Best Actor, deservingly so. The small touches to the character, like having that whole disorder being that he just laughs uncontrollably. And, the more upset he gets, the more that he laughs. And I think that was that was a mind-blowing concept that they added into the character, and they still stuck true with the character of the Joker, how he's an unreliable narrator. I thought that was really cool. That was perfect. Everything that I thought they could have done wrong, they didn't do, and everything that they did right, they did really right. And I think Joker is an incredible film. Very topical as well, especially with the situation we're dealing with media and how media can really overblow things and kind of politicize it and also pervert it as well, especially with mass shootings and the whole thing dealing with that. I thought was a really great take, and I agree with it wholeheartedly. And I think there's something to be said about the media's contribution to that whole issue, and I think this film really brings it out. And it doesn't really make sense too much to me how much controversy this film had when it came out. But it's understandable, I guess, but I think it's stupid, especially if you're one of those people who said this is an irresponsible film. I think you're an idiot. If you say that your opinion means nothing. You're just stupid. This film is actually an incredibly important film to watch, and it brings forward a lot of issues that we have with our own society and how these things kind of get heavily politicized and romanticized, if you will. And I think this film really hits that on its head. So really great film. I was blown away by this one. So now number 2, that actually surprisingly won Best Picture of the year, Parasite, a foreign film, Korean, directed by Bong Joon-ho. If you're unfamiliar with him, he directed Snowpiercer, The Host, that Netflix original Okja. Parasite, objectively his best film. It's incredible. It's a really great look on the class system, especially I guess in Korea. It's a great political look. It's funny when it's funny, and it's scary when it's scary. And not a lot of films do that incredibly well, and this one does. I don't this film was not the best of the year, but I agree with it winning Best Picture, and I'm glad the Academy recognized it. And it does a lot for foreign films, because there's a lot of really great foreign cinema out there that a lot of people don't know about. And I think Parasite kind of got very popularized because of the Oscar, because of the award, its award-winning nature. So I think it definitely did a lot for foreign films, and I think it's deserving because the film is great and the writing is amazing. Again, you read subtitles, but you can just tell the writing is phenomenal, and the directing, wow, mind-blowing how good it is. So that brings us to my favorite film of the year. Now, this one's a horror film, and it's actually an A24 film. And it's The Lighthouse. Yes, that's right. It's The Lighthouse. Now I'm looking for the director of The Lighthouse. Hold on real quick. The Lighthouse. Come on, load. Seriously? Okay. Roger Eggers, or Egers, or I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, but stars Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe. A great film that is set in one location. So weird, so unique. I've never seen anything like it, but yeah, it's amazing. And it's not just, again, like Parasite, it's not just scary and creepy and disturbing. It's also hilarious. It's one of the funniest films I've seen this year, and it's the scariest and the most disturbing film of the year. If you were looking for mermaid sex, it's definitely here. So it's a weird one. It's a really weird movie, but it is so good. And Robert Pattinson gives his best performance. Willem Dafoe gives an amazing performance as well. I mean, if you're looking for a film that has fart jokes, this is the movie for you. It's incredible. I couldn't say better things about it. I review this one on my podcast. It's one of those episodes that's not on YouTube. It's just on audio platforms. So I appreciate you guys checking that one out if you have. But yeah, The Lighthouse, it's my favorite film of the year. And I think it's a lot of people's favorite films of the year. deservingly so. It's an incredible film. It's very unique. It's black and white. It's filmed in 4:3 frame. It's as the best performances of the year. I think it got snubbed. It should have been nominated for the Best Picture. But, I mean, since it's an A24 horror film, obviously Academy doesn't nominate it. I don't know why the Academy hates horror films. I don't know. They should just develop its own category. But whatever. It's a conversation for another episode. But that's my top one. That's my top 10. So let's run down real quick. Number 10, Knives Out. Number 9, Uncut Gems. Number 8, Glass. Number 7, Ford v Ferrari. Number 6, Toy Story 4. Number 5, Avengers Endgame. Number 4, 1917. Number 3, Joker. Number 2, Parasite. And number 1, The Lighthouse. Those are my top 10 favorite films of 2019. And that's the episode, guys. That's episode number 16. And, yeah, I had a lot of fun doing this episode, guys, and I hope you guys enjoy this. If you know anything about my channel, I like to give, like, sort of like a message at the end. But, I mean, again, it's kind of hard, especially at a time like this, you know, with this whole coronavirus, COVID-19 thing going around and the country being shut down and people hitting hard times. I mean, I hit hard times too, but I mean, I got things taken care of. You know, things were not looking too great for me here since I'm not working. I'm laid off until who knows when. I'm hoping maybe like middle to end of May going back to work. But things, it's okay to not be okay. And especially, you know, if you're hitting hard times right now, just know that tomorrow's a new day. Tomorrow probably will be better than today is. So, you know, don't let those negative things get you down. Use those negative things, turn them into positive things, and use them as personal growth moments like I try to do. And, you know, things got a little bit better for me, so I'm sure they'll get better for you. If they can get better for me, they can get better for you. Let's just say that. But, yeah. Guys, you know, tomorrow's a new day, and, yeah, that's the episode. I hope you guys are doing really well. Again, I appreciate all your support, your comments, your likes, your subscribes, anything, is a huge help for me. And, you know, just you watching is really awesome. So that's the episode, guys. Then I'm watching, this recent, it's not a recent show, but it's a limited series. It's called Waco. It's based off of that whole Waco situation down in Texas with that cult and the ATF being at a standoff. It's pretty good. I'm only 2 episodes in, but I'm going to be reviewing that in my next episode, probably another film, and I'll continue my top 100 next episode. So stay tuned for that. That might be in another week from now. So I might take a little bit of a break for a couple days, and then I'll get back on the horse here. But yeah, hopefully this one gets uploaded soon. So yeah, guys, love all you guys, and I appreciate you guys tuning in. And that's the episode. This is Nerd Out Sanctuary. My name is Michael, and see you on the next episode. Bye, guys.